Hi, this week's topic is roleplay. Love this topic, it's so versatile and it can bring in so much language and loads of fun. It might be something that parents are a bit nervous of to start with. It might be something that your children are already starting to display in their play, pretend play with toys, dolls, teddies, whatever. Or you might have a child who's never shown any interest in role play, and this week might be a little bit tricky for you, but really do stick with it because role play can be a really useful resource for all ages of children. So at this age, role play really needs to be introduced using things that the children are already really familiar with, or they'll probably just lose interest really quickly. So it could be role playing a story that they're really familiar with, maybe one of their favourite stories. You could introduce it by just role playing it whilst they're doing something else, and you pretend to have a little activity with some of their toys, teddies, dolls, whatever, and role play out the story that's really familiar to them. That would attract their attention quite quickly and they'll be intrigued by what you're doing and quite likely want to come and join in quite quickly. You could role play routines that they are really familiar with during the day. So it might be bath time with the dolls or the toys. It could be meal time, so sitting around like a little tea party. You could do it at the table, which is a more familiar scenario. It could be making food, pretend making food in a pretend kitchen area, and role-playing routines that they're already familiar with where they've watched you be in charge. Doing it with role play gives them the opportunity to be in charge and take the activity wherever they want it to go. So we're really just wanting to encourage them to act out real life scenarios perhaps, and drawing out that language so that it's really encouraging them to use words that they maybe wouldn't use in their everyday play with games, toys, whatever it is that they like to do most. Role play can also be a really vital resource for introducing something that they're about to experience that they've not experienced before. So it's really useful for helping them to be familiar with something before it happens. So for example, if you were going to move house, obviously moving house is a big thing in anybody's life, and I think it's in the top 3 of stressful things that can happen, along with having a baby and getting married. So the example of moving house, you could act out with toys, with teddies, with dolls, things that you know are going to happen when you move house. Could be journeys to the new house, it could be talking about having a new home for the teddies or the dolls, and doing it repeatedly so it becomes a really familiar role play activity, so that when the event of actually moving house comes, the language that's being used in that real life scenario is language that they've been familiar with, and it just helps small children, young children, to feel more secure because it's something they've role played, they've pretended, and it's quite exciting that it's happening in real life. So that's where role play can be really useful for introducing a new experience that could be quite stressful if it just comes straight out of the blue for them. So your task this week is to think of a role play activity. So it could be role playing a familiar routine to them. It could be role playing a familiar story that they love, maybe their favourite story, and see how you get on and feed back to us in the next Zoom. This is going to be a really easy week for people who've got children who love role playing already. It's probably going to be a little bit trickier if you've got a child who is not interested in role play, and for that I would suggest you just role playing with their toys so that they can observe you doing it. And if you do that repeatedly on a daily basis, just for 5 minutes or so, they'll become familiar and they will want to join in over time. So have fun and see you in the next Zoom.